Welcome to Worldview Matters, discussing controversial issues, discerning current events, defending biblical Christianity. No topic off limits. And now, here's your host, David Fiorazzo.
Welcome, friends, family in Christ. Thank you. Before I bring in today's guests, a fearless man and woman of God. Before we started, I just happened to glance at our mug. I'm not selling this mug because I think we're out. But it says Worldview Matters on one side. And it says keep speaking truth about things that matter. That's my tagline on the other side. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to turn that side to the camera. I don't know if you guys can see that. But we are committed to continue to speak the truth of Christ and glorify God, stand on the biblical worldview, and try to wake up the church, try to save souls and be all about the gospel, and of course, trying to impact culture for Christ. So let's bring in Mark and Amber Archer with Fearless Features. Can't wait to hear about Mark's new book and also a new project they're working on. But we've got some conversation to take place before that. Brother and sister, thank you so much for your time.
Hi, it's good to be back with you, David.
Good to see you.
So I was going to say, where do you want to start? But we will get to the book. Let's just put it up there right now. This is due out next month, November. Next month. It's called Compromised, A Prodigal's Journey Home. This is from Mark Archer. And I'm sure Amber's going to have something to say about this as well. I know the creative process and the work of writing a book. It's when you finally birth that, get it, published and then printed. Oh my goodness. And it is, a lot goes into that. So I know your heart went into this project. So first of all, can they get it on your website and on Amazon, or please share?
Yeah, it's only available right now on the website for pre-order.
Okay.
And so that's where you can get it.
Okay, so it's due out the week before Thanksgiving is when officially you will get that. They will start sending those out. So congrats on the book, Compromised. I love the title, A Prodigal's Journey Home. So before we get to that, a lot to talk about, you guys, since we've had you on. First of all, the Charlie Kirk assassination, the trans violence, your subject matter in a lot of your films, all of your films and documentaries have touched on biblical and biological realities and truth, which a lot of people, unfortunately, on the left, and even ignorant people that just hear the talking points, they call it hate speech. Yeah. Because you are saying there is a God and he created two genders, male, female, and it's God, male, female, marriage between one man and one woman, family, civil government. That's the structure that God set up. So please talk to us about what started you on this path. You could have been doing films about anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you decided to work on this controversial topic, but we know it's so important because it is true, biblically true and biologically true, and it's just insane where we're at right now, the delusion in our culture. Whatever you want to say about that, go ahead.
Well, I think you were asking, how did you get started in this? And I think one of the things, as believers and prayer warriors, when you ask the Lord, please break our hearts for what breaks yours, you better be ready because he's going to ask you to do something. It's sort of like we have seen all over Charlie Kirk saying, "Here am I, send me." Well, it's exactly the same kind of moment that we had. It's not something, like you said, we could have been doing any sort of films that we wanted. We didn't have to be doing documentaries and exposing these things. But honestly, when you look at it and see people who are just trapped by these lies, it does break your heart. It breaks our hearts because we know that it breaks the Lord's heart. We are all created in the image of God, and for people to be led so astray from what is true, it drives us every day to our knees and to help reach people.
So, Mark, I know you probably wrote some of this in your book, your brand new book, Compromised, about what makes you tick. What is your why to doing what you're doing? Share your heart on this, please.
Well, leading into that, I think somebody who read an early copy of the book, she said when she got done, she said, if I were to describe this book in one sentence, it's one big apology letter to the Lord. And I think that's a good description for it, because it's, how it is when you're writing something, and especially if it's an autobiographical thing, there's always that part of you that goes, nobody cares. Nobody cares. They don't know who you are. They don't care. But it's what I've been prompted to write about, because the journey that I've been on, I know it's not unique, but some parts of it are unique. And the fact that, speaking of why we do these films, that this book really is the why for why we do Fearless Features, because it starts with me as a teenager and running from the Lord for 26 years, and then being, just having my heart broken for I couldn't find any meaning in what I was doing. I've spent plenty of time doing the meaningless drivel projects and, the big movies and that. And to be honest, it's empty. You finally get to the top of the mountain, you realize there's nobody there. There's another peak over there. Oh, you're supposed to go there now. And it's just an endless cycle of wanton waste. So why we do what we do is because we know the Lord has called us to do his work, and it's not always easy, but the effect and the change that you can have for the kingdom is staggering when you're using your gifts and talents in the creative arts.
That's right.
To tell the stories, to reach people, to inform them.
And when you're fully surrendered, when you're seeking God's approval, not man's, he will use you. He will use that. So I want you to talk about, I'm looking at the titles of the films again. And, it's interesting. My books are the same as your films in a way, thematically. And what the content is what you read about. I read about culture and the assault, my recent book, The Assault on the Image of God. So you understand what that was about. Then my first book was Eradicate, Blotting Out God in America. And then here's your titles on your DVDs, on your projects. Inwood Drive, which the attack on life. The Mind Polluters, the attack on innocence. Dysphoria, the attack on identity. Title IX, the attack on justice and language. And the one you're working on now, Principalities, the attack on truth itself. And I know you're going to get into spiritual warfare in that one. So because you're writing about these topics, and you can share whatever you'd like. So Amber, let's start with you. When you started this, I know you got some pushback, even from the church. Some would call it friendly fire. Why are you guys tackling controversial issues like this? But I'm sure you also have had some threats too, some very serious hate directed at you guys. So start with you, Amber.
Yeah, well, much like what you see, especially if you're in the conservative movement, it was really sad after Charlie Kirk's assassination, and then I was reading, people were coming out, and close friends of his, even saying about how he, walked away from donors because they told him he needed to tone down all of the Jesus stuff and, get away from all of the religious speak, and they'd be happy to fund him. Well, that's the really incredible sad thing is we have run into the same problems over and over again. When we got the Mind Polluters done, we were asked by 2 national Christian organizations to remove all references of Jesus.
What?
When we got,
Wait a minute. Back up. Did you say Christian organizations, but I think you meant to say Christian organizations?
Exactly.
Christian, yes.
And
Christian
so
broadcasting.
and so when we got done with Dysphoria, again, those who had viewed the film and we're looking for distribution and, hey, can we bring these into your church? Can we put these on your platform? Oh, it comes back with, can you just remove all references to Satan from the film? That's too harsh for people. They're not going to understand. I'm sorry. You obviously don't understand our ministry and what we're about. We're here to speak truth because that's what helps set people free is the truth. It's
Wow.
when you walk into this, because you don't expect that, right? As Christians, especially if you're a bold Christian, you don't expect people to, especially from another Christian organization or from churches, to say, "No, we can't tell people." No, you're supposed to be telling people. That's what they need to know about. We've had screenings where we've had death threats, on college campuses. It actually just happened to be one of the TPUSA events that we were asked to come to. And I mean, it's bizarre. People don't actually think that these things are happening, and everybody wants to turn a blind eye or stick their head in the sand because of fear. We cannot live in fear. The Lord does not give us a spirit of fear.
Let's talk about that. Then I want to toss it over to you, Mark. First of all, you said you weren't expecting. I think we need to start expecting this, or at least be ready for it as a possibility, because it's not going to change. And again, I hope I'm wrong. Quote me on that. But because of what we're seeing in the public schools, government schools, the radicalism, K through 12, their ideology is so twisted. And it starts with the mothership, the U.S. Department of Education, then the teachers' unions and what they're being taught, the textbook publishers. I could go on and on. I'm running out of time. I want to focus back on you guys. But Charlie Kirk, when he was asked to keep it more political and keep the Jesus part out of it, I remember one of his responses was, well, thanks, guys. You can give your money to someone else.
Yeah. It's all about Jesus. We're not
going to be tied. Yeah, it's all about Jesus. And go ahead, Mark. Now you share whatever you'd like.
Yeah, well, on that, the people that were so critical of dysphoria, they hadn't even watched the film, right? They had heard about it, so our reputation had preceded us, and they were asking preemptively, "Can you make a secular version, a secular cut of the film?" And I said, "Maybe you guys ought to watch the film. The opening sequence of the film is me reading Romans 1, putting visuals to it, right?" And it was like this blank stare. I said, so let me put it to you this way: I didn't write the script. I can't just change it, and they were not comprehending. It's scripture, guys. I can't rewrite the scripture. That's what the world tries to do.
Yes.
And there's just an intentional disconnect with a lot of these guys, and they were definitely they were offering the world. We got millions of dollars. We want to bring you guys in on this, but you just got to compromise a little bit more.
So, Mark, we are going to get to your book, I promise. But this is just too fascinating. And in light of where we're at as a culture, and Christians who are out on the front lines trying to recruit more soldiers for Christ and battle, ready believers, this is hard. And this is very relevant. So when you're writing now, you're working on principalities. I know one of the aspect of that is spiritual warfare. I know you've got some more stories to tell, and I'm sure what happened with Charlie Kirk is just part of this overall battle. Go ahead and share a little bit about that, and then we'll dive into Compromised.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, sadly, about 2 weeks before the attack on Charlie and everything happened, Mark and I actually released a podcast through, Fearless with Mark and Amber. It's part of our platform and what we do. But we literally we made a podcast that said the most violent generation, ? Because we're talking about all the trans violence. And because there is a pattern, a repeat pattern that is happening in America, and it's festering in the schools. You look at the ages of these they're kids. They are kids who are committing these violent crimes. You have to see it for what it is. And I wish people, I don't know how else to reach people with it, because people are fearful. They don't want to acknowledge that it's actually happening. And most people sit and say, well, what can I do about it? And that's really where we're at is not understanding that, hey, I can get involved and use my voice at the voting booth. And hey, I can speak up at church. Hey, I can educate my friends and family with these various resources that are available, Christian resources to point you to the truth.
Yes.
So,
as they say on the X-Files, the truth is out there.
It's funny.
But people don't want to hear.
I just had a conversation in the green room before we came out to do this podcast about the fact that we've lost in the American Christian church, or too many churches, the application of when Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." or you are salt. We are ambassadors for Christ. We are to make disciples. Well, people go, wait a minute, how am I supposed to do that on Sunday morning? You know what I mean? We've lost this application of we're supposed to be out in the world, not of the world, but, in the world. So really quick, and I've got to get to some of this. These polls are coming out now, and this is just to warn us all that there's a shift, and it is all about worldview in America. Rutgers, 55% of Americans on the left believe assassinating President Trump would be at least somewhat justified. So, in other words, left-wing extremism is not just fringe anymore. ABC News, 87% of Democrats view Trump as a fascist. That's what they called Charlie Kirk, and look what happened, friends. This is just a warning to where we're at. NPR, 47% of Dems say the rise of fascism is their top political concern. And then YouGov, and I'll let you guys respond. A full quarter of very liberal Americans say it can be justified to use violence to achieve political goals. And we should not be surprised by this, but this is where we are, unfortunately, in America. And we are not to back down. Mark and Amber, your quick thoughts.
Well, when you talk about fascism, and when people, this is, for us, this is why when this happened with Charlie Kirk, and we both spent several days just being angry because we looking at, literally we've been making movies about this, trying to explain this to people, and dysphoria and Title IX in particular are still suppressed. We even the faith-based film distribution companies won't touch them, and we're still pushing those out. But in dysphoria especially, we talk about Antifa. If you want to understand why they keep talking about fascism, Antifa is the anti-fascists. So they're the communists, and they're the ones who they're the violent denomination of leftism, right? Of so they are communists. They're anarcho-communists. So they want chaos. It's accelerationism. They want to create chaos to bring about the Great Reset, if you will. And so that is what they're talking about every time they're accusing someone of being a fascist. Antifa goes all the way back to the communists rising up against the Nazis in World War II Germany. So you got the commies fighting against the Nazis, the communists and the socialists. So that's really two denominations of almost the same thing, totalitarianism fighting.
Which was why it was really interesting when you saw Trump just a few days after the assassination come out and say and label Antifa as an organized terrorist organization.
Domestic terror.
I mean, to finally see that happen is incredible.
Yeah. So, Mark, how did your book, Compromised, you mentioned it earlier, how did that become the fuel for Fearless Features? And by the way, friends, the website, fearlessfeatures.org, how did that become the fuel for what you guys are doing now?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing today, and what really drives us, and when I talk through my story of kind of how I got to where the two of us now are making these films that are nothing like the stories that I describe in my early days of trying to break into Hollywood. But I saw it early on. I mean, in one of the early chapters, I describe doing my first feature-length film and shooting a rated R sex scene. And I had justified it in my mind that it was okay and went along with it, but just how dirty I felt doing that. Not more than about a year after that, doing my next film, I was propositioned by a Playboy TV producer. They wanted to fund me, because a lot of people don't realize how much of the content that you see that maybe even is family friendly is actually funded by porn dollars, because they have so much money that it's like the cartels. They have so much money, they have to put it somewhere. They want a return on it. And they know that faith-based movies make money. There are faith-based films that are indirectly funded by porn.
Oh,
Surprise!
They the filmmakers I'm not saying that they all get into it knowing that, but it does exist, and I attest to that. So to what we're seeing now and the way that bold Christians in the arts and broadcast and that need to stand up on this is because nobody can be more accurate in knowing how to fight back against these things than people who have been in it and come out of it. And so when I see people who have a story about coming out of Hollywood, coming out of the music industry, things like that, and turning their lives over to Christ, and I identify with them because I go, that was me. I mean, I have been a Christian since I was very young. Tried to start off with good intentions to do my work for the Lord, but the lure of Hollywood lights took me off, and I ran after all of that, and I actually quit filmmaking for 3 years and tried to give it all up, and then the Lord called us together back to this to do what we're doing with Fearless Features. So it's it's the same skills, but with the right mindset, and when I came back into it, I told the Lord, I said, I am not doing this unless it's 100% for you, because I know what happens when Mark chases Mark's dream.
Right.
It's disaster.
Just follow your heart.
Yeah, exactly. Revert back to the story I just told about dealing with the Playboy people, right? That's where it goes when Mark's in charge. So.
So Amber, you guys get a lot of donations, or a lot. Let's just say you run on donations, and I know people can donate to you guys. Fearlessfeatures.org. How is the funding for the new one, Principalities?
Well, right now, we're using all of the pre-sales to go towards Principalities, and also people this is the first film that we're actually giving the option for people to put their name on it. If you want to sign up and say, hey, you know what, it's like signing a petition saying, yes, I believe in standing for the truth and taking a bold stand in culture. This is actually the first one that we're letting people partner with us in putting their name on it. And so we're just excited for anyone and everyone who's saying enough is enough. Because the thing is that we know is, especially for films, books and films, these are going to outlast us. They're going to go on for generations to come. Long after we're gone, there at least will be a testimony and testament to those who actually stood up and said, enough is enough. Stop harming our children. Stop feeding them lies. Stop running this country into the ground, because that is not what we were founded on.
Amen. Amen. I love, by the way, I'm looking at your films page, and I hope, friends, you go to their website and check out some of these films if you haven't yet. But I love on dysphoria, the truth will ruin the experiment. Oh, that's scribbled out. The truth will ruin the and then the truth will set you free. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's a whole story behind why that is. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so one of the stories that we tell in Dysphoria, and I should mention too, our first two films, Inwood Drive and The Mind Polluters, are actually available on Prime Video.
On Amazon Prime.
On Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So you can watch the first two there. Dysphoria and Title IX you still have to watch on our website. But The Truth Will Ruin the Experiment is actually a quote from the David Reimer story, which we talk about in Dysphoria. David Reimer was the first patient, if you will, of Dr. John Money, who was pretty much the father of the transgender movement. He was a disciple of Alfred Kinsey.
Yep.
John Money tried to convince this young boy that he was actually a girl. He had gone in for his circumcision when he was just a few days, 8 days old or so, and there was an accident and he was damaged. And so they decided that they were going to take him to see Dr. John Money. And John Money said, hey,
nurture of nature,
because they were twin boys. One was damaged, the other wasn't. And so this was the grand experiment to see if nature over nurture or nurture over nature.
What works?
And so so we talk about this story, and that line, the truth will ruin the experiment, is actually directly quoted from Dr. John Money in a letter response to David Reimer's parents, because they wrote to him and said, David was getting old enough and he was realizing the truth, and they said, shouldn't we just tell him the truth? And John Money said, the truth will ruin the experiment. That's what that's about. It's 100% true. And we talk about it at length in Dysphoria.
Okay, so I know we want to talk about compromised, and there's just so much, but one of the questions I was going to ask you is, how can the book Compromised and your films be used by churches as discipleship tools? But I think the more accurate question, with just 2 minutes left here, how can we get these in more churches to wake up more pastors and Christians? So answer that however you want to. Go ahead.
Well, what we found is it's really individuals who take it to their elder board leadership and just say, hey, we would really love to bring this to our church. Right now, we're in the process of working on Bible studies to go along with these, for people to sit down and do it in group studies. We've got, just one sheet handouts for each of the screenings for each of the films that are available. And just contact us through our website, through our contact page, and we would be happy to bring the film to you if you're locally around us, or help set you up so that you can run a screening yourself and get your community educated and involved.
Or if you're in Colorado, we're bringing Dysphoria to Colorado in October.
Why do you got to put me on the spot? I don't have my calendar.
Just without. But yeah.
October 29th.
Yeah, Clown World, Colorado. We're bringing Dysphoria.
Okay, and I think I've seen, whenever you guys do get a screening set up for a church, I think I've seen that. Is it on Instagram or your Facebook page?
On both. We share it through social media and emails.
So we'll know. Okay, guys, I'm so thankful for what you do, and I want to just encourage everybody watching and listening to pray for Mark and Amber. Please pray for Mark and Amber. Important work. And Charlie Kirk talked about male, female, God, the creative order, and it's not popular today, and it is unfortunately framed as hate speech, but we will continue to take the hits for the glory of God and to stand on the truth of the biblical worldview. Guys, thank you for all you do. Lord willing, we'll do this again. But appreciate it. Much good success on the book, Compromised, Mark. Again, friends, fearlessfeatures.org. Amber, Mark, blessings, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, guys, again, we've got to get these projects to Christians that can maybe introduce them to their pastor or church leader, so we can get the information out there. As you know, it's censored and it's suppressed in so many ways, but God bless you. And as always, keep speaking the truth about things that matter.